Hello, and welcome to the continuation of how to make 2015 your best year ever with your own personal improvement plan. Hi, my name is Richard Grehalva, and I'm going to be taking you through these lessons. Now, in the last lesson, we talked about the ABCs of success: attitude, beliefs, and communication. And we talked about the A, attitude. Attitude is an outward expression of an inward belief. And in this lesson, we're going to talk about the B, belief, and communication. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, this is how I define beliefs: beliefs enable or disable my actions. It's like taking the power that I have in my hand, that I have control over, and I either plug it in and allow myself to do what it is that I want to do, or I pull it out and disable my own action. I don't have any of the power because I give it away. Now, I want to give you an example. Let's take a look of how beliefs work. We all started riding bicycles, as an example, on a tricycle, and we all get pretty good at it. Then we have to get away from a belief that we can now go onto a bigger bicycle with a training wheel. We get comfortable staying in that trike. And then mom and dad, whoever brings a little bigger bike in there, has training wheels. And there's a little bit of fear because I may have a belief that I don't know if I can really ride that bigger bike. But we do. Now, after some time, as we grow older and get a little bigger, it's time to take the training wheel off. And I bet you remember what that event was like. I bet you had a belief, like I did, is that it's not possible to ride a bicycle without training wheels. I'm going to fall. I'll never be able to ride. In fact, I did fall. I bet you did too. But we got back on the bike. We had someone who was helping us, that was holding on to that seat, or me pushing or running next to us. And after a while, we had this new belief, this new discovery that says, you know what? I can. I don't need to have the training wheels. Now, once we're able to master that bicycle without training wheels, we can move on to a bigger bicycle, and we don't have the same fear anymore as we did when we were younger with the training wheels. Now, here's what I want to point out. Each of these beliefs served us. And I don't want you to beat yourself up over a belief. This belief worked. It helped us to get to the next level, but it no longer serves us. I mean, I would look pretty silly sitting on a bicycle at my age now with training wheels. I mean, people will point and laugh. It'd be really weird. But we just move through these things, and that's the way we go through life. It's just like me learning how to drive a race car. I know how to drive a car, but I can tell you, driving a race car on a racetrack when you've got 30, 40, 50, or even 60 other race cars at the same time, all trying to get to the same turn to get through it as quickly as possible on turn one at the very start of the race, is a little spooky. So you really need to have the teaching and the skills and the belief that you can do it. So let's talk about this and how do you change it? Well, really, it's just describing what is no longer true about that particular belief. It's like again, going back to that training wheels. What's no longer true about that? And what's the positive belief that you now want? You need to describe what you want instead. If you are sitting in a bicycle with training wheels, what do I want instead? Well, I want to be able to ride a bicycle without the training wheels. So it's really taking a look at what you're doing. What's no longer true about the belief? What's the positive belief that you want? And then what is it that you have to do to get this new belief? For me, in racing a car, is I face my moment of truth, like I shared with you. And in order to get past the older belief, is that I needed to get in that car and go out on the track again. And the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. And I found it was no longer true, that I can survive if I do get in an accident. In fact, I know how to avoid it now. So what is it for you? And let me tell you a little bit more about beliefs. An elephant, when they're small, is they put a chain or they put this rope around their ankle, their leg, and they hook it on to a steel post. You've seen them. And as the elephant gets bigger, they could easily break through, but they have this learned behavior, a belief that they cannot, so they don't. And I find this for many people is that they have this rope or this chain that's tied to this imaginary uh, steel rod that's put into the ground. And they can break through that belief, but they choose not to because they don't make the effort. They get stuck in that comfort zone that I was talking to you about earlier, but they can. And here's the real unfortunate news is that as the people get the information, the training, just like you're doing, what will often happen is they don't take action. In fact, out of 10 people will not take action. There are people listening to me right now while they agree that they want to make the change. They agree that they want to get out of this comfort zone. They agree that there's a belief that's been holding them back and now they're ready to get past it. They won't take action. So it's important for you to take action. And all you have to do is figure out what do you want instead and just figure out one or two very small steps that you can take today, tomorrow, and next week. And pretty soon you'll have that new belief system. I also have found that the reason people don't take the action is they put their head in the sand and what they're saying is, it's not my fault. It's not me. It's his fault. It's her fault. It's the environment. It's the economy. It's my boss. It's my peers. It's my colleagues. And the list goes on. But the reality is that we have to be accountable to ourselves. We have to own the results of our own behavior. And it's going to take a behavior change to get past the old belief into the new belief. Now, I remember when I was learning how to write a book, I would tell people I want to write a book. They said, you can't write a book. You'll never get a book written. And I went to a seminar and I met quite a few people who were there for different reasons, but they had a belief they would never write this book. And they were there to overcome that. And that's what I've done. And that's what you can do. So what I want you to do now is write down some of those old beliefs that you want to change and write down what's no longer true about that old belief and what do you want instead. What's the new positive belief that you have? Now, it's got to be positive. And then what is it that you're going to have to do in order to get that to done? And all you got to do is take a few steps in order to accomplish that. So remember, beliefs enable or disable my actions. Next, I want to talk to you about the C, communication. We've talked about attitude as an outward expression of an inward belief, and beliefs enable or disable my action. Now we're going to talk about communication. And communication is what I tell myself what I can or cannot do. Now, the reason I'm doing this now instead of a separate video or lesson is because I found that beliefs and communication are closely tied together. That most often I find that communication, what we're saying to ourselves, what I can and cannot do, really falls in line with some of our beliefs. And it's kind of funny, but when I ask people, do you talk to yourself? You know, people don't want to raise their hand and say, I talk to myself. And I say, well, how many of you believe that the person next to you talks to yourself? And they all raise their hands. But the reality is, we do talk to ourselves. And we do it a lot. It doesn't mean you're strange or weird or whacked. Is we all do it. We have voices in our head. And we listen to them. This is some of the funny sayings I've found. But there's also something that a friend has told me, and I like the way he frames this. It's the lie that we continue to tell ourselves. And I've given you this example. And here are some beliefs that this woman has, that it might be that I'm ugly or I'm useless, I'm a failure, I'm stuck. There's no hope. You know, it's not just women, it's men. You know, there's plenty of them. Been running men's retreats for 20 years. I can tell you that There isn't a gender in here. It's not about men or women. We get stuck in some of these lies that we continue to tell ourselves. And these are part of the belief systems that we create. Now, I want to talk to you about how powerful communication is, particularly self-communication. So here's the example. See if you can get past this. I'm going to tell you about something, and I don't want you to think about it. Don't you dare think about a chocolate sundae. And don't you dare think about that chocolate sundae with whipped cream on top. And don't you dare think about that chocolate sundae with the whipped cream that's got that cherry on top. Okay, you're getting the idea, right? About right now, you're ready to turn this video off and go head out and get yourself a chocolate sundae. You know, it's interesting about language. You know, it's just like a small child. What we tell them to do is don't slam the door. And what do? They slam the door. Why? Because that's what we told them to do. You see, on the subconscious, we don't hear don't. We hear slam the door. Then we have to figure out the don't part. You know, it's just like, you know, our children that's running around by a swimming pool. We say, don't run. So what do? They continue running. What is it that we want them to do? We want them to walk. What is it that we want them to do about the door? We want them to close it softly. So the reason I'm giving to you is that we need to change this self-talk. We need to change the lies that we're telling ourselves in our mind. And what I want you to do is I want you to start your day with positive internal communication. I know for myself, and I know working with other people, they would wake up and they're already, before their feet hit the floor, they're saying, you know, I hate that I'm going to have to go in this meeting. I really don't like what I'm doing. I have to face this. This is not well. This is not good. Well, the unconscious part of yourself is taking all this in. So what I want you to do is to begin that day as, you know, it's a gift. You know, in the Native community, we would talk about how the sun rises in the east, and the east represents a new beginning, a new day. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow isn't here yet. We're living in what we can do right now. So for myself, I practice positive internal communication. Before my feet hit the floor, I'm already talking to the Creator, and I'm thankful for this day, the family, the things I'm getting, the gifts, and the people I'm going to be able to work with today, and what I'm going to be able to do today. And the fact that I'm breathing is a gift. So I'm going to ask you to start doing that every morning. Watch what happens to yourself and how that changes your attitude. Now, if you have this tape that's playing, these lies that are playing in your head, I want you to change the CD. I want you to change that MP3 recording. I don't want you to change the player. I want you to change the CD. And you can do that. So when you start hearing these lies that you say to yourself, begin to change it. Change it into a positive, to the opposite. I showed you that earlier. I'm ugly. No, I'm beautiful. I'm not successful. I am successful. Just change that play, and you'll be surprised at what will happen in your success. So once again, I want you to write down some of these lies that you're telling yourself, and I want you to write down what would be the opposite. Again, it's like a belief. What's no longer true about that? And what is it that you want to change it to? And understanding that communication is what you tell yourself what you can or cannot do. So there you have it. This is the ABCs of success. Attitude is an outward expression of an inward belief. Belief enable or disables my actions, and communication is what I tell myself what I can or cannot do. If you work on these ABCs, I guarantee you it's going to help you continue or move you in new ways to be much more successful in your personal and professional lives. Okay, so next we're going to begin to tackle the goal-getting system. So I will see you tomorrow when we get started on talking about how to achieve your goals. So I'll see you in the next video.